There are going to be moments where it looks like things aren't going particularly well. But given that, and given the history of conflict, I think that everybody should be proud of where we are today. It's going to require constant effort.
It's really been great coordination because everyone believes that it is possible to create something better in Gaza.
I think it's clear from all the reporting and what we've seen that, unfortunately, the ceasefire agreement has been broken. So I hope that his presence there, that the negotiations will get it back on track, that people will stop dying.
Well, Vice President Vance over with Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner, and talking to Israel about whether they have to go back in to Gaza. Mark Levin is worried about it. He says we have a delegation in Israel now that's pressuring Israel. I base this on the anonymous leaks that I'm reading in the media, which have been planted there. We talk about obliterating Hamas, yet we are pressuring Israel. Pressuring Israel will not stop Hamas. Pressuring Qatar, Turkey, and Egypt, as well as Hamas, is what should be done. So there's all kinds of talk about what's going on. We'll start there with our panel. Let's bring them in. Brian Kilmeade, co-host of Fox and Friends and the Brian Kilmeade Radio Show, which I'll be on again tomorrow. Fox News contributor James Freeman and Dana Perino, co-anchor of America's Newsroom, co-host of The Five. You know, you hear Levin, he's concerned, saying, you know, you're pressuring Israel, but Hamas is the real problem. They're trying to get this to all come together.
Here's what I loved. Over the weekend, we had the flare-up. 2 IDF soldiers died for just excavating, just standing there. And the response was 14 Palestinians died, and they blow up a few tunnels. And both said, let's go back to the ceasefire. And then we see J.D. Vance there on a Tuesday, right after there was a flare-up. Because this is going to take constant vigilance. And a guy like Mike Waltz, for example, would be perfect, because we have to get he's the UN ambassador. We have to get that international force assembled. Right now, it looks like Malaysia is the only country that is putting troops in. We need about 30,000 in order for phase 2 to come in and the IDF to move out. Also, the Jerusalem Post is reporting that Hamas is secretly planning to take some power, be some of those so-called Palestinian technocrats, that the Egyptian intelligence is interviewing Hamas leaders to pick this a Palestinian technocrat. Why would they do that and go to the Palestinian Authority? That's just changing your outfits, changing your headdress, and deciding who's going to represent you. That'll be more of a problem.
Dana, there is hope. You know, there was such great hope after those videos of the hostages being returned. Now the hope really lies in the Arab nations to come up with some kind of force.
And I look at this also from thinking about like a president. Where were we a year ago? Right? We were nowhere. So here we are. We have a fragile ceasefire, but President Trump knew that. But he went there. He has skin in the game. And then he has people who are willing, people like Jared Kushner, Steve Witkoff, they could do anything else that they wanted to in the world. They are committed to this. And the president is out there. He's the quarterback. He's calling the plays. They're like, we are going to execute this game plan, sir. And so they're there, and it's going to take some time. I think that J.D. Vance going there was super important for everybody on the Republican side to be pulling in the same direction now. And it does feel like the Democrats, what other option do they have than to support and try to get this done? I love the idea of Michael Waltz trying to help. That makes a lot of sense, yeah.
James, Wall Street Journal editorial board, no more ceasefire excuses for Hamas. Of course, Hamas violated the ceasefire. Breaking up peace processes is what Hamas does. To prevent Hamas from reconstituting a rump state, the Arab Stabilization Force needs to get moving. If it isn't able to quickly destroy tunnels and disarm Hamas, or if the parties look to make another United Nations peacekeeping farce, forget it. I mean, there's high skepticism in the editorial board there.
Yeah, and the vice president was talking about how there are going to be a lot of hills and valleys along the way. I think that's accurate. But I also think, to Dana's point, the president has earned some trust in terms of Middle East negotiations, not just getting the hostages out recently, but you go back to the Abraham Accords originally in the first term. I think if that were not a Trump production, international relations professors at elite universities would be teaching about that for years to come. Really an amazing achievement.
All right, meantime, on the other shift is the meeting with Putin. Doesn't seem like it's happening in Hungary.
It's not going to happen. And I think one of the keys was Marco Rubio met with Sergei Lavrov, who he's been around forever. And most people say he cannot be trusted, but you can understand he does speak for that government. And Marco Rubio is able to turn around and say to the president, they're not looking to move at all. We're going to go over to Hungary and we're going to walk away with no tangible results. So I don't think we should be doing this. The Europeans have responded by putting together their own 12-point proposal, which is just pie in the sky. It's not dealing with the real world. And now we're back to square one, it seems. Hungary's going to be off, and I think the question's going to be right back in the president's lap. Tomahawks, and should the Senate pass that bill with 85 signatures at least that gives him massive sanction ability? Should he put it on that desk and say the Tomahawks have been delivered, they won't use them unless you show some ability or some willingness to come to the table. The Tomahawks will be used, the sanctions will go in place unless Vladimir Putin in a certain amount of time comes to the table.
It just doesn't seem like the president's there. You know, after that phone call, he does seem to have changed a bit. Even though President Trump, after the phone call with Putin, now this meeting is off, but I'm not sure he's to where Brian's talking about.
So I heard conflicting reports on the meeting because later on, apparently in the day, I mean, you might know better than I do, but Zelensky was fine. He was like okay with everything. Maybe that's not the case on Friday. Yeah. Here's the thing. The worst thing you can do to any president is waste his time. Putin wasted his time in Alaska, and what I think the smart thing that Secretary Rubio said was that we're not going to go over there and have them do this to us again. Yeah. So President Trump is probably just taking all this information in, and he has shown a willingness to turn if he has to. I'm sure he doesn't want to see any escalation, but at this point, he might not have another choice.
All right, I want to turn to domestic politics. With legacy on the line, President Obama hitting the campaign trail to boost Democrats in key governor's elections. He's headlining rallies in New Jersey and Virginia the Saturday before Election Day. But for the former president, who's crowning domestic achievement, the Affordable Care Act, which is better known as Obamacare, is front and center in the current federal government shutdown. Top issue, the 2025 campaign trail. His return to the campaign trail may be also about protecting his legacy. James, he doesn't have a super track record of lifting Democrats up.
No, not really. And we think about a year ago, visits to swing states where he was giving arrogant lectures to people, blaming men for sort of sexism for not supporting Kamala Harris. So I'm not sure this is going to be a huge boost, but the Democrats in both those states are leading right now, so they may not need it.
They're leading, but they're single digits according to a lot of the polls, Brian. Yep. I mean, those Virginia and New Jersey, when they get to single digits, that's an up in the air kind of race.
You tell me, Brett. If you have Wes Moore considered a superstar among Democratic circles, if you have Governor Whitmer, the governor of Michigan, Governor Whitmer show up, now you have Mayor Pete, which is a big name in the Democratic circles. Would they be showing up if this thing was in the bag? No, they'd be going to the victory party if it was in the bag. They have to be nervous in both states. At the very least, if this is a single-digit win in both blue states in the off-year election, it's going to be hard to make that case that the momentum is going against the Trump administration and they'll be held to pay in the midterms, which I know you'll be covering.
And notice who they aren't asking, Biden or Kamala.
True. And she's saying,
on a book tour.
Well, she's saying that she's in the mix. She may be the captain.
She said today she is the leader of the Democratic Party, and she's not invited to those parties in Virginia.
She's leading in the polls right now among Democrats. Second is Newsom.
But do you think that those candidates are weak? What is happening in Virginia and New Jersey? Or is the Republican candidate, are both candidates taking advantage of missteps? I mean, it's changing.
I think it's missteps, timing. I think that the candidate, for example, with Chitterelli, you could look at him and say, well, maybe he's not the best candidate ever, but he has energy. He would be a competent executive. And Micah Sherrill has had several stumbles, and she lost her footing. And she hasn't been able to get back the momentum.
But Republicans have to be a little wary of Charlie Brown, Lucy and the football being dragged away at the last second in those two states.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, this is a year that favors the party not in the White House. But you mentioned Mikey Sherrill in New Jersey. Very bizarre. She's got all the Democratic all-stars coming in to do events, but her advertising is saying she stood up to her party. I don't know where you find that in the legislative record, but there's a credibility issue of her.
Very similar to Brett. She mysteriously she has $7 million. She doesn't know how she got it.
She doesn't know how she got it.
Has no idea.
Yeah,
well, I think it's a little bit of a problem.
There's another question to ask. Okay. Panel, thanks.
Thanks for having us.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.